So he's actually been seizure-free since I first started him on cannabis.
What the world needs now is a non-sedating, non-addictive anti-anxiety agent.
Cannabis, for many people, can be very, very helpful and supportive.
It's Reefer Madness, the podcast, with Trevor and Kirk.
Kirk, coffee in hand, and we're back.
Hey, Trevor, how's it going?
Good.
I got a mouthful of blueberry lemon muffin.
That sounds very nice.
And a cup of coffee in my hand. So
sounds like an excellent way to begin the chat. So we have Carl Sailing from High Day that you've interviewed. He is a fascinating guy. We're just sort of talking off air about, maybe the definition of a serial entrepreneur. But before we talk about Carl, and we'll preface this, we love all our listeners and our friends south of the border, but we try not to do too many topical news things, because who knows when people will be listening to this. But there was a news item that came up that we kind of wanted to comment about. Kirk, so do you think we should become the 51st state up here in Canada? What do you think about that?
I think President-elect Trump should piss up a rope, quite frankly. However, we're not a political podcast, but this one has to go. We have a lot of listeners in the States and around the world, and we appreciate your listenership. But if you're not paying attention to North American politics right now, the new president-elect of America is looking at annexing Canada, annexing Denmark, changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico.
Just Greenland. Denmark will be fine. Although they might jack up the price of Ozempic. In case you missed it, Ozempic, made in Denmark.
Oh,
just throwing that out there. Yeah.
Anyways, one thing that's good about Trump, I think he's going to make cannabis legal federally, and I think our next guest is hoping for that. He really does seem to be a serial entrepreneur, and what did you think of the interview, Trevor?
Oh no, Carl's a fascinating guy, about my ilk and age, so that's always interesting to see what somebody else has done with their life. While I have been a pharmacist for X number of years, he is up to 30 plus businesses. Several of them cannabis related, from a delivery service to Hollister Cannabis, which for a little while is Hollister Biosciences, traded on the CSE. In case you missed that, CSE is the Canadian Stock Exchange, and not that it isn't always important, but it often gets forgotten about. But for a while there, when Canada was legal and nothing in the US seemed to, 2017 through 2019, CSE was just chock-a-block full of cannabis companies, especially sort of US entities that were trying to raise money. So for a while, I'm not saying it's not less now, but for a while, CSE was very hot for people trying to raise money in the cannabis space. He's an interesting dude and something to listen for, because we got to acknowledge Kirk when people agree with Kirk. He states quite emphatically that he thinks all cannabis is medicinal as well, whether using it recreationally or not. So there you go, Kirk, a kindred spirit.
Yeah, well, we meet a lot of those people. And again, Trevor, I search out stories. I send out probably about 10, 15 emails a week searching out stories. I read research papers. This is a story that was pushed to me once again. We've had other stories pushed to us. Our Buddhist friend, that story was pushed to us. This one was pushed to us. And I kind of read the guy's backstory and went, this is interesting. But as you know, I like to approach all stories as if first tell me your cannabis story before we get into your entrepreneurialism. And his son had Crohn's, right? So yet another individual who comes in to try to find a way to improve the cannabis space has come into it via cannabis being medicine. And really, that is one of my biggest rants, is how cannabis is medicine for so many people, and being completely I shouldn't say ignored, because it's not being ignored. It's just not taken seriously. It's just not seen as a first round choice, therapeutic choice for many Western doctors. And the more we get into this podcast, 7 years, Trevor, 139 episodes. How many of those episodes have we tried to, find a way to say, this isn't really medicine. This is some guy just using cannabis as a drug, But no, sure enough, eventually someplace in the conversation, we come up with the individual going, cannabis worked for me. And I see that so often. And I mean, I'm sure in your practice, you have people that come to you that use cannabis as medicine. And how do we, a nurse and a pharmacist, how do we push government leaders to see this as medicine? I guess we put out episodes. I guess we put out conversations like this.
Maybe have a podcast and talk to people. I don't know.
Maybe we get noticed by telling the president-elect to piss up a rope. I don't know.
Maybe.
It's just I think this fella's story needs to be told. It's an interesting story. It's an IT story.
It is. And before we get back to Carl, because nothing will ever happen, but Mr. Trump, President-elect Trump, if you want to come on, because you've gone on some podcasts before, if you want to go on a podcast to talk about cannabis and speak to your minions in the 51st state, we'd absolutely chat with you. But
I don't know.
I will absolutely take that phone call. I'll even be pleasant. But Carl, let's talk about Carl. So started, been around cannabis since he's been 10. He moved from the East Coast to the West Coast about when medicinal cannabis was becoming legal in California. Started a delivery service for medicinal cannabis. Then, various companies, both in the cannabis and the IT, we'll call it, zone, prepaid calling cards and prepaid cell phones and internet marketing, digital marketing, lack of a better word. He's got a very interesting background, but he tells the story way better than I do. Should we let Carl introduce himself?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, so my name's Carl Sailing. I am a lifelong cannabis user and enthusiast and advocate. My first experience, I was 10, kind of crazy. My babysitter's brother grew some cannabis and came in my house and dried it in my oven, which is crazy. But I was always drawn to cannabis, from the very first time that I consumed it, and consumed it all throughout my life, off and on. But as in 2002, I moved to San Diego, California, from the East Coast. And that's when I started getting a little bit more into the cannabis industry and just the culture and everything, because it was more prevalent in California with the Prop 215 laws that they had versus New Jersey or Pennsylvania, which is where I grew up. And then around 2013, I started a delivery service in San Diego to help patients get access, because I started seeing how it was really helping a lot of people. I wanted to get into the industry, and so that's what I did. And the amount of stories that we heard were very heartbreaking and heartwarming. People with terminal diseases using cannabis to help them through that. People curing themselves with cannabis, for other ailments. So it was really amazing. And my son also was diagnosed with Crohn's disease as a young teenager. So we use cannabis to help him through that as well. And then I got into the cannabis industry even more. Took that delivery business all the way through legalization in California. We were the first licensed and active cannabis company in Hollister, California. I ended up taking that company public in Canada on the CSE in 2019. Made some other acquisitions, expanded into Arizona, and then I stepped out of that in a business in October of 21. But cannabis, to me, even if it's recreational, I feel personally that it's all medical, even if you don't realize it.
Yeah.
And I mean, the plant's amazing on what it can do, and we're just getting started to really understand it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Just to go back a little bit, legalization in California happened when?
Yeah, so there was a couple things. So there was a medical framework that was approved in '98, I think, called Prop 215. That lasted all the way through to January of 2018, when Prop 64 came into place and kind of took over the regulations, and that enabled recreational sales as well as medical.
Okay.
So they regulated it sort of like how Canada did.
Okay. So your delivery business, that was a medical cannabis delivery business?
Yes, medical cannabis delivery.
So I find that curious, Carl. Could you just expand a little bit? How did that business work? Dial up? Is it like an Uber cab? Did people just go to the store, buy the cannabis, drop it off at someone's house? How did that work?
Yeah, so I have a big tech background, so I made a really nice website. People could come online and order and check out. They could pay with their credit card, and then we would use our vehicles and then deliver it. So we had like areas in San Diego that we would deliver to, and we had a few Priuses out there running around.
So again, I know our Canadian model, but so in the California model, in those days, were there brick and mortar medical dispensaries?
Yeah, so the way it worked, they were called collectives. So it was a not-for-profit model. So you had to have a not-for-profit business and then patients, and you were like a caregiver to those patients, but you were able to kind of agglomerate many different patients. So now you can be able to supply, let's say, 1,000 people and have the facilities to handle that.
Yeah,
it was very cowboys and Indians and very loose, way easier than it is now.
Isn't that interesting? The more regulations, the more difficult. And I'm sorry for the history lesson, but I think a lot of the Canadian market may not necessarily understand what that means. So the collective. So if I am a prescriber, a nurse practitioner, or a doctor, I would have a cannabis clinic.
Basically, you would have people come in. They would sit down, describe their ailments. It would fit in with the ones that were approved by the state. They would issue them a medical card saying that they're approved to buy cannabis medically. And then they would take that to a collective and become a member of that collective and say, hey, my allotted cannabis, you guys are going to grow for me, basically is what it was.
Okay. And then the rec market comes into play. And I also found it interesting. Wasn't there a period of time in California where they said no to the rec market? Was there the first vote said?
Yeah, 2016, it failed. It did not pass. Like it would have been enacted in 2016. So whenever that was, maybe 2015, it failed, didn't pass. Canada's did. And then they had to come back to the table a couple years later, and then it finally passed.
Okay, so we're getting closer to high day. But so you mentioned that you have an IT background. So you explained your history with cannabis. So what is your skill set? So what did you do before the cannabis delivery system? And now, of course, we'll get into your software in a minute. So bring me up to speed how you gained these skills to do what you're doing today.
Yeah, so I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I'm 55 today.
Oh, you carry it well, by the way. You carry it well.
Cannabis. I consume cannabis on the regular.
All right.
And I don't drink, and I take very good care of myself as far as diet and exercise. That's a whole nother podcast if you want. I'm very
Hey,
passionate.
sounds like a typical Californian, but carry on.
Yeah, so I've been an entrepreneur all my life. Started my first business when I was 16 in construction and tile and marble, but I quickly got out of that business and got into the telecommunications business. In 1995, I started a very large it became a large prepaid telecommunications company back when phone cards were first coming into reality. Like no one knew what they were, and I was there at the very beginning of that, which was cool. We had 50 employees. I built that to multiple millions in sales and sold that to a public company. Became president of that company, worked for them for a while, and then stepped out and then redid that business again, but with more of a focus on travelers. I had maybe 300 phone card vending machines and truck stops up all over the place, as well as, we did a ton of prepaid cell phones, like right when they first came out. It was crazy. I mean, there's kind of correlations to the cannabis industry too. Some of the same people from there are in cannabis, which is funny.
I'm kind of sensing I may watch too many boss shows or too many American crime fighters, but are these the throwaway phones that guys in limousines sort of use when they're making these deals on the black web?
Well, I mean, you could use it for that, yeah, like burner phones, but it's
Right.
for the unbankable economy. And prepaid was massive for that. So immigrants needing to call home was very expensive if you didn't have a prepaid calling card. Same thing with wireless. Wireless plans were putting you through the credit hoops and everything back then. This is 2000, 2001, 2002. Yes, but then also a big part of the country was using prepaid, to make regular phone calls and to communicate.
Cool. All right. So now here we are.
There's a lot more.
Go for it. Go for it. We've got time. I love hearing stories. So tell me, how did you go from there?
Yeah, so then from there, I started an online digital marketing agency because I had done all the marketing for all my companies. Like I probably started 30 or 40 companies, maybe more. Wow. And I've done all the marketing and all that for them. And it just made sense. I got out of the telecom industry, prepaid diametrically changed. The big carriers, the big mobile phone carriers were kind of in control of it now, and the margin got really squeezed. So I was like, okay, I don't want to fight that battle anymore. And then, social media is just coming in and all that stuff. So I started an online digital marketing agency to help local businesses attract, engage, and convert new and repeat business. Did that very successfully, and then grew that business. And then I had the cannabis business at the same time later on. And then as the cannabis business kind of took over, I exited my digital marketing company and then stayed focused on the cannabis industry.
Cool.
So kind of and then, I mean, the cannabis company got pretty big too. At our peak, we had over 100 employees.
Wow. And what company was that?
That was Hollister Cannabis Co. And it went public as Hollister Biosciences on the CSE.
Okay.
It's not trading anymore.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you got out at the right time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely did. And then I took about a year off because it was a 10-year grind in the cannabis business. And then I wanted to figure out kind of what my next steps were. And I was like, and all along I had the challenges that my software kind of solves. So a lot of marketing issues, platforms not liking cannabis companies, many different platforms kind of paperclip together. And I set out to solve all that for something that I really wanted to have if I was going to do this business again. And,
Cool.
And then that's High Day.
So you're still in California?
No,
Nope.
actually, during that whole time, moved to Las Vegas to get out of the taxes in California because they're crazy high. And then we didn't really like Vegas, so now I'm in North Mississippi near Memphis.
Cool. I hope to be down there in April, May. Hopefully, to be down there. So, let's get to your business, Carl. I'm on your webpage. High Day, evaluate your brand. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to share a little bit. Trevor and I are wrestling, as you probably know. Podcasts are still internet-based businesses, and as you probably also know, there's a thousand podcasts with people talking about cannabis. So we're having a tough time branding. So you're providing a service where a business that's not allowed to brand itself by legislation in Canada, and by words only, right? How do you offer that? How do you offer that to a cannabis company? And how do you offer that? Yeah, what's your services, Carl?
Yeah, so we're High Day is an all-in-one marketing command center. It's a think a CRM for cannabis that includes CRM, SMS marketing, email marketing, social media posting and planning and management, two-way live web chat on your website, review management, so managing your positive reviews on Google and getting them, and then automations to tie it all together. And we do business in Canada. We have several dispensaries that are on our platform there. And we work very well with the Canadian laws. So once someone comes into your ecosystem, let's say I come into your dispensary and I sign up for your VIP system, that's what our system does, is then sends those messages out, which are totally legal. And when an adult subscribes to it on their phone, the idea is that they're getting it on their phone like no one else is getting it. So that's how. So we integrate with the point of sale system. So when someone makes a purchase, we then can follow up with them. If they haven't been in the store in so many days or months, we can hit them with messaging. If they bought certain products, we can hit them with different messaging based on the products that they bought.
Okay. CRM. I'm not
CRM, Customer Relationship Manager.
They see business speak. I'm a nurse. I'll tell you about a CRM in my world. But okay, so this all hedges on the fact that I own a brick and mortar shop. Somebody walks into my shop. My bud tenders engage them. They buy a product. They walk out. Now, for your system to cut in, we have to capture these people's phone numbers or their email address. We need to capture them somehow.
Right.
So what information are you asking from a customer so that you can capture them?
Name, email, phone number, and birthday.
Okay. And so that goes into the dispensaries platform. And within that platform, I have my inventory. And if this individual bought some John Gee sativa cannabis, it would go from my inventory to his bag with a note that this guy tends to buy John Gee?
I would see that so that would come back into High Days. So the sale's done. That information is transmitted over into High Days. So we know that he's been there 5 times. He was here, 2 weeks ago. He was here today at 10 a.m. He bought, $55 worth of stuff. It had these items in it. He likes sativa. He buys flower. And then we wouldn't send that person like a topical message because that's based on his history. That's not a topical person. Every now and then you may send it to everybody, but you want to personalize and target your messaging for a better response rate and engagement. But to kind of keep going on that thought, it's not just for brick and mortars. It's great for people who have websites that or ancillary companies that are selling to cannabis. People are talking about cannabis online. And, so like, for example, on your podcast website, you could have a opt-in form to opt in for your newsletter. And then that would come into High Day. And then you would use High Day to send out your newsletter. or you can have live chat on your website, and the engagement from there would all come into High Day. And we have e-commerce features and landing pages and a lot of stuff. It's literally an all-in-one system.
So if I come to you as a business and I say I already have a web page, do you offer the actual web page platform as well? Like, can I move the platform I'm using now and just move it to your platform? So
The answer is yes. The answer is yes, but we're the platform. We don't actually do the services. Like, we don't create the emails or build the websites. We enable all that to happen.
Right. So you provide me the tool, so I go on and I create it. So I would need a lesson on how to navigate through your drop-down menus and formatting.
Right. And we have full training, tons of videos, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of articles, and we have live 24/7 tech support. Okay. So if you're ever in a jam, you can just get on with one of our techs and they'll help you through anything.
Okay. So we spoke about the front of the house. So the customer comes in, the patient comes in, buys their product. You're tracking that. What's happening back of the house with your platform? What's happening in the inventory, the wholesale side? Gee whiz, I need some. I need to order some sativa, or
So we don't touch the back of the house. That's all in the POS system. Typically, that's native in their inventory management and all that stuff, and the compliance, like talking to Health Canada or whoever, like Ontario, whoever they got to communicate with. Like in the States, a lot of places use a lot of states use a company called Metric. And that's the track and trace system. So I don't get involved in any of that. I really don't want to. After it's either after the sale has taken place or before the sale has taken place, but not the actual sale.
Okay, but is there an integration? Of course, I mean, there must be an integration.
We're integrated, but we're not managing any kind of inventory or anything. It's just the customers and getting them to come back and buy more.
Okay. I'm just going to go to your webpage because I have spent some time on your webpage, and you're sort of looking at evaluate your brand engagement. So you're very much looking to help a business promote itself, I guess, is what you're doing.
Totally. And also manage, get the most out of their marketing efforts.
Okay.
Lots of automations. Automations are very important, especially nowadays. A lot of people like you, I'm sure you're like a 1 or 2 man band, and having things automated that you would normally have to go in and manually do saves a lot of time.
Are you coaches as well, or just providing software? Like, there are businesses that do both. Are you a business coach?
I mean, we definitely have ideas and suggestions, and we can match you with other companies that are really good at that. But I mean, really, for your business, as much organic social media as you can post. Yeah. Videos. I would be posting a video every day.
But that's a good point. And what you're basically saying is that it's a full-time job if you're doing this.
Yeah, and it's changed. 6 months ago, LinkedIn is not LinkedIn today. So one of the things that they brought in is the TikTokification of the video feed, and the short, like quick clips are kind of blowing up on LinkedIn right now. So you can take your full episode of your podcast and then chop it into 50 different content pieces and just blow them out, because it's not based on your followers anymore. It's based on the interest. So people that are interested in what you're saying. I'm
going to apologize because it seems like you're giving me some free coaching advice here, but But it's all about the services you're providing. If people go to your webpage, you are providing business advice. You're providing a software package, but you're bringing this know-how that you're sharing with me today. That's how you built the app, right?
Right. But we have, I don't think I talked about it, but we have a cool system. It's a way to build your own online community that won't get banned. So it's your own private community inside of High Day with your own custom URL login to it that you can send customers and vendor, like everybody to. It's pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
What you're into all sorts of restricted industries. So the cannabis industry, the hemp industry, vape industry. mushroom
Psychedelics.
industry. Yeah. So tell me about that. So you're obviously narrowing down your marketplace also.
Yeah, and honestly, it's been a bit challenging because this market is challenging. It's not, a good amount of the companies aren't profitable in both countries, in Canada and in the US.
Oh yeah, they're falling. They're falling.
Yeah, so I mean, some are making money, some aren't. So that's been a bit of a challenge. But also on the flip side, here in the US, the hemp market has kind of had a resurgence over the past year with THCA and all the alternate cannabinoids, altnoids. So we service that market too, the beverage market, which is getting super hot here. But yeah, it's totally challenging, and I like it because it's harder. For some reason, I like doing hard stuff, and it weeds out the competitors because not everybody can do it.
Yeah, and that's what we're discovering too, is that we're 7 years into this project because it's a passion project. We've watched, I don't want to say competitors, because I don't believe in competition with another business. I believe two golf courses will bring more golfers than one, right? So the more podcasts out there, the more information is out there. But what I've noticed is that because we look at this as a passion project rather than a business, I'm not feeding my family on the revenues of this podcast. I'm doing it because I have a passion for cannabis. And as a nurse, right? Because traditional medical people just dismiss cannabis, whereas I have seen a lot of stuff in it. But the longer we stay in, I think the more people will see that we have longevity. So is that going to happen with the cannabis industry? The longer you stay in, is it just a matter of attrition, or is it the strong will survive, or the one that buys the most will be surviving?
I think right now, especially in the US, if you can hang on, there will be some sort of event that will enable you to hopefully exit or turn profitable, and that's tied to either a change in the classification or descheduling.
Yeah, federally.
Yeah, on a federal level. Like once that starts to move here, things I think will change for people, and like the real money hasn't even come in here yet. Like all the family offices and VC funds and big like ETFs and all that stuff, they're just waiting.
Yeah. And Trevor and I see that. We've been interviewing big pharma, and we've been interviewing investment bankers, and they're waiting. And both the Democrats and the Republicans in the States have basically said that the future of cannabis is open market. They just have to get around to doing it. Is there anything that I haven't asked you in this conversation? Is there anything you want our listeners to know about your business and the services you provide?
No, I mean, just we help cannabis hemp companies, whether you're a brand, a dispensary, e-commerce site, sell more cannabis. That's bottom line what we do.
I appreciated your time, mate.
Yeah, same here. Thanks for having me on, Kirk. And let me know when you come to Memphis. Would love to connect with you and share some cannabis. That'd be great.
Okay, so because I think you had a similar thought, so this is not to denigrate Carl, so hold on. As soon as he started talking about prepaid cell phones, I thought about Better Call Saul, the spinoff from Breaking Bad, because Saul Goodman had a big thing where he was selling prepaid cell phones basically to drug dealers and other people doing illegal stuff. So that was the first place I went. So, and here, bring it back to reality, because yes, nothing in reality is the same as TV shows, although there might have been illegal stuff going on with prepaid cell phones. I hadn't thought about the fact, he said, people who are unbankable, so they didn't have a credit history to get a cell phone from a traditional carrier, or immigrants. In the early 2000s, I had no idea, and in retrospect, it makes sense how basically what a service they were, and it wasn't just the welcome back Saul criminal element interested in the burner phones.
Yeah, I also had the same thought, and I kind of mentioned it to him as well. And I also think about telecommunications, and if we're about a podcast, but let's talk about phones. I mean, back in the 80s, I used to carry a beeper around. I used to be on the fire department. I was on call for the local ambulance system. I used to be an air medevac nurse back in the day before governments had regulations. So I had beepers, and then I had a radio. I had basically point-to-point radio that I carried around, and then I got a flip phone. And I can remember moving to Dauphin in the early 2000s. Well, how early is 2001? When I moved to Dauphin, and I was given another flip phone because I was on call for the hospital. Spent a lot of time on call, so a phone for me was always a professional tool, not a personal luxury. I could never understand what a smartphone was. I can remember my son. I think his 14-year-old friend got the first iPhone smartphone. Like, what do you need a smartphone for? And who would guess now, 20 years later, we're paying the government to track everything we do on this computer we have on a desk here. So here's a man that, started back when I was on call for a hospital. He's out there selling phones to people that need phones. So how the brain works. You have that 10-year memory, 20-year memory that just goes in So I was right there with you.
But we should probably talk about his business a little bit. Now that we have talked about how old we are and how technology is weird and strange. So High Day.
So his business is High Day.
I was looking through his website as you did, and you guys touched on, not surprising you didn't get to touch on everything he did, but like if you are, we'll take out a dispensary, a cannabis dispensary, his, basically all the marketing, what did he call himself? A marketing command center. So, he'll help you get your blogs going, update your website to make it nicer, but then some really interesting things like surveys. So see what your customer actually likes and doesn't like. Build a private community like a Facebook group, but Facebook can't shut you down because you're talking about cannabis. Membership programs, manage things like Google reviews, you like this, your CRM, your customer relationship management. So basically, we're a central database to control all your customer stuff. Social media posting, they'll help with that. Like email marketing, and then the one you guys talked about a fair bit, which was like texting your SMS or texting your clients. So someone comes in, they sign up for your rewards program, they give you your name, I think age, phone number, and email address, and you guys talked about, if they haven't been back in the store for 3 weeks, maybe send them a text to say, hey, we miss you. Come back today, and we've got a special on X. So that if I was running like a dispensary, the other businesses working too, but that would all be very useful to have all in one place instead of going to 18 different places to try and do all these things.
Yeah, he's selling a front of the house tool that basically manages your customer service.
Well, more interesting, and you guys touched on it a little bit, or more interesting to me, there's a lot of restrictions in Canada and in different in different states about how you can market cannabis. And Carl's company is very familiar with, what did we call it, restricted content marketing. Frankly, the first time I read that, I was wondering if they're talking about porn, but we're not talking about porn. We're talking about cannabis, and how you can't say I sell cannabis on, say, Facebook, but how do you, like he was saying, an example would be you've signed up for the customer rewards program, and then you're basically saying, I'm of age, I've been in the store, they've checked my ID, so now if I get a marketing message via text, then I'm not breaking any rules, that kind of thing.
Yeah, he focuses on what he calls the restricted industries. He focuses on cannabis, he focuses on hemp. Hemp is still restricted, I guess, in some, no, it's federally available now in America. So I don't know if that's still a restricted thing in America. But psychedelics, of course, would be...
Yeah, I was going to say, but they have the hemp-derived products, so, your Delta 8 THCs and stuff.
Yeah, and vape products. So he's dealing. The headline on his webpage is "Unlock Limited Potential for Restricted Industries." So I think it's really quite cool that cannabis. You know, I go on a rant about all these restrictions they put on a plant, but because of these restrictions, entrepreneurs come up and find ways around it, right? It's the old thing about you create a law, well, someone's going to find a way to work around it. And it's not that he's working around a law; he's created a marketplace for dispensaries, and he says he can also help medicinal dispensaries and recreational dispensaries. His webpage is pretty simple in the sense of how he lays it out. You know, you can go to the homepage, you can go to features, cannabis, hemp. He speaks to the cannabis, hemp, and psychedelic communities directly about what he does for them. And again,
we should probably say, I'll jump in. Website is gethighday.com. Sorry, go back.
Yeah, and we'll definitely have it up on our webpage. So go to our webpage at reefermed.ca. and you'll get access to it. But gethighday.com is his thing. It's a cool story. It's a marketing story. We don't often do stories on businesses like this. The reason why I liked this as a story because, again, he himself has his own story, what brought him to cannabis, and the fact that there's a need for this product in the industry. So yeah, this is one for the rec market. I guess medicinal cannabis dispensaries can consider this product as well. Check out the product, High Day. It's a good, interesting product, and I hope to meet him. We Michelle and I are planning a trip down south. I was hoping to meet some of our guests, go around the States and meet some of the guests we've had. So hopefully, if I get to his hometown, I'll get to share a little bit of cannabis with him.
That would be excellent. So Kirk, not that we can't swing back to Carl, but you do have a My Cannabis story this time around.
Yeah.
From someone who may or may not have been a DJ back in the day.
Yeah. This is when I go back, well, how do I start the story? Well, I start the story by saying we just got through Christmas. And my extended family lives in small town Alberta, Lac La Biche. We've done stories there with Equilibrium, the small store there. And I was walking my dog down the road and looking at the changes they've done to the main street of Lac La Biche, and walked into Equilibrium and started talking to this fella. And again, you know, I've been away from Lac La Biche now 24 years, and kind of recognized the guy. We get into talking I'm doing the sales pitch about looking for a story, and he introduces himself, and you can hear me in the background, oh my God. And I have this huge revelation. This fella is a big part of the party scene in the 80s in this small town. Lac La Biche is a town of about 1,200 people in those days, and Mr. Webster was a big part of it. Big, you know, I don't know if you're old enough to remember these days, Trevor, but when we used to go to socials in Alberta, there'd be a huge speaker system that would occupy almost the bed of a flatbed truck. Huge speaker systems. All of his cassettes and his records and I think I watched him move into CDs because he used to crate around records, and he would spin records and spin CDs, and that's how we did dances. So people would go to the stage and ask him would request a song, but there were some really, really good parties, and it was wonderful just to meet him and say hello again. I haven't seen the gentleman for, gosh, decades, and I although I knew, I never connected the points that his son is co-owner of Equilibrium. So that business is owned by two young boys that are about my son's age. And I've met both of their parents, who also work at their son's store. So this is My Cannabis story. It really doesn't speak a lot to cannabis. It's more two old guys meeting up and going, holy shit, we haven't seen each other in a long time. So that's the background of the story.
All right. Well, let's listen to Al.
Hey, hi, I'm Al Webster. I'm the father of Jerry Webster and a good friend of Derek Iwascu. And basically, when the boys started this, and once again, we do everything with our kids, and it's all about supporting them and what they're doing, and that's what we've been doing. And now I'm working in the store, and it's been a little slow couple of years here, but we're building back up and climbing back up, and things have happened and changed, but all for the good, and I'm sure. And we'll all stay really tight with the boys, and that's about it, and been pretty busy. Don't smoke a lot of it myself, but I might start here any second, but you never know.
You were the music man in the 80s.
Yeah, DJ, man.
Yeah.
We quit just before COVID.
Yeah, one of the best parties I can remember is Mr. Bouvier's retirement party. You remember that in Jubilee Hall? And basically everyone went home, and it was just the Bouvier boys, the Hammer girls, and we danced. And I have a vivid memory of you getting off stage and dancing with us.
Oh yeah, all the time. Do that all the time.
Oh, you put on some great parties. I'm sorry, I was just sitting there thinking, I know you.
Well, it's the beard, and then basically, I always had a ponytail, but
that's the look I had back in the 80s.
Exactly, I just let her go.
Yeah, back when I had hair. So you, I don't remember you in the 80s being big in the pot. You were more in the drinking side, whereas I was stepping outside with the buddies.
With the boys,
with the boys.
Well, I had to keep it to a certain. The only time I smoked pot was at a dance, I think, was in Hilo, way back in the day. And actually, is some RCMP officers back in the day that were in my van, and they just went back and get some stuff, and I just happened to grab a little bit in what they were doing. But that was 20, 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah, well, I used to be on the fire department, and there used to be RCMP on the fire department, and I can remember having debates with them about, hey, man, would you rather go into a room of people, blasted on rye whiskey, or would you rather clear out a room of people who have just finished a reefer? Which one? Like, what's the safest? And they would never answer the question, right? Back in the 80s. I'd go into
a drug house.
Oh, yeah. They're all too tired.
Well, four guys get together and they go out and they start drinking and partying and fighting, and they usually end up as a terrible. They wake up and they're dead. Four guys go out smoking. Christ, they make a band and write great music.
Yeah.
So that's how it's been done.
So to this day, you're a casual smoker?
Casual. Very, very casual.
So your son ends up owning a local... And these guys now have what? Athabasca?
We have 3 stores. Okay. Athabasca, Lac La Biche, and Smoky Lake. And then we had one in Redwater, but we shut that one down. It just wasn't moving. We opened it and closed it fairly quickly because it just wasn't happening there. Okay. And it was brutal slow. And then it all opened up here. The road opened up because they redid the furbished downtown here again. Right. That was closed all summer.
I remember that.
That was tough. But then we were lucky. We got this walk-through passway because it was like one of the ways to the main street. So we got all the traffic going by us, but still.
Yeah.
And people would come with phones and they're lost and they're looking for us because with the roundabout way to get here, they were standing right in front of the store. Hi, how you doing? Who you looking for? Oh, you guys. But no, it's good to see you, man.
It was good seeing you, Alan. And I'm really sorry, when I first walked in, and as soon as you said, of course, all the memories just flashed back. I mean, all the parties that you DJ'd, God, some of my best memories were. So, Mr. Webster, it was wonderful to meet you. And thank you for the story. There's another dispensary across the street from Equilibrium, and I've tried to get stories from them. The fellow that is involved with that store actually was involved with a hemp expo, folk festival, outdoor cannabis celebration back around 1998, 96. Again, when I lived in Lac La Biche, and he now manages the store across the street. And I went in to say hello, looking for my cannabis store, and they're very concerned in Alberta that any publicity at all can get them closed down. And I was trying to be creative with them, saying, well, talking to a podcast really isn't advertising your business.
Are you advertising that we don't have as many listeners as we would like?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that what an opportunity for a dispensary to talk to us and get get a few people listening and hearing about, hey, when I'm in Lac La Biche, I'll go check out Equilibrium, right? And I'm sure we've had listeners driving down Main Street, Lac La Biche, going, oh, there's Equilibrium. Reefer Madness did a story on them. I'll go check them out. I've walked into probably a good 50 or 60 dispensaries in the last 7 years, and I'm hoping that a few of them have got business from us. And, you know, what a better way to get your message out but through a podcast. So yeah, this is me looking for somebody to, you know, support this little passion project, and by going into rec stores saying, hey, give me a cannabis story. But you know, it's funny, Trevor, I walk into these stories, I get them, I produce them with you, and we put them up on the podcast. But I can tell you, there's probably, for every one story I get, I've got 5 no's, right? People walk in and say no, and it's like, why wouldn't you talk to me? I mean, I've showed you our webpage. Well, I'm a very friendly face. I got a beautiful dog. Scratch the dog. I've got all the reasons for you to talk to me, and it's like, people don't, I mean, gee whiz, tell me where your store is and we'll put it up on that internet's there, and maybe you'll, like, it's the fella in Watson Lake. I mean, what he says, he's 1,000 miles away from anybody else. When you're in Watson Lake, go stop in and see the fella there. We talk to him, right? So anyways, I'm going to continue doing this, and if you're listening, maybe I'll walk into your doors someday and you're going to go, oh my God, there's Kirk from Reefer Madness, the podcast. Let's give him a story.
And I'm just going to throw this out to our listeners because, you know, who knows what, if you don't throw stuff out in the universe again. Anyone's got any pull in the White House of the president-elect? Really, I'll even put on a tie, Mr. President-elect. We can talk about cannabis and/or us being the 51st state, whatever you want. We'll have a nice chat. It'll be a quick little Zoom. We can fit into your schedule. You know, usually instead of, you know, the 4 a.m. Tweeting, you can chat with us. I'll absolutely get up early, put on a tie, and we can have a nice chat. So anything?
It might be easier.
Anything else, Kirk?
Well, I was thinking it might be easier. It might be easier to get Justin Trudeau to speak to us than President-elect Trump. I mean, that would be a great conversation to get his story about cannabis. Yeah, I've got another.
He's basically the reason we're here. So yeah. So yes. We'll throw that. Anyone's got anything for Trudeau? You know, an outgoing interview about cannabis. That would be amazing as well.
I'm going to rephrase that. It's not. We're here because we want to learn about cannabis. We are, but maybe he gave us the balls. He gave us the balls to put the podcast.
There wouldn't be nearly as much to talk to if he did not legalize cannabis. How about that?
Very true. Very true. Okay, well, I'm Kirk Nyquist. I'm the registered nurse. We are Reefer Madness, the podcast found at reefermed.ca.
I'm Trevor Schufeld. I'm the pharmacist, and this was another good one. I really enjoyed talking with Carl. Carl, thanks for the chat. Everyone go check out gethighday.com, and we'll see everyone next time.
Yeah. Before you go, there are going to be some new stuff happening on our website. In the next week, I've got some ideas I'm going to be posting in populating our cannabis area. We have a little educational spot on our podcast, and I'm going to start populating it. So if you want to learn a little bit about cannabis, check out the cannabis page on our webpage. And so I guess we're going to be playing early Van Halen.
Classic Van Halen. We'll leave the choice up to Renee, but I can't wait.
Yeah. Cheers, mate.
Check out the complete library of Reefer Madness episodes at reefermed.ca. And make sure to follow us on all the socials for bonus info on what Trevor and Kirk are up to.
Zero run a little bit hot tonight. I can barely see the road from the heat coming on. Reach down between my legs, ease the seat back. She's running, I'm flying, right behind it, will be now. Got the feeling, but I was hearing, busy popping, ain't no stopping now.
Well, that's the look I had back in the 80s.
Exactly. I just let her go.
Yeah, back when I had hair.
Yeah, I haven't cut my hair in 2 or 3 years, and I ain't gonna. So this is like up to here because I want to. I'm doing something. I just don't know what it is.
Okay, well, I got to a point where I just looked like David Crosby. I had bald head, and I just said, I'll just shave it
You
off.
got some pretty good hairline there. You just have really deep. I have really deep here too, eh?
Yeah.
But then you kind of. My dad always used to. He used to like almost like a Dairy Queen ice cream cone.
Yeah.
He'd stack it and then.
Yeah.
Like pull a trump or whatever.
Well, I was stomping grapes a few years ago, and I had my head down like this, and I had long hair, and I could just see this huge bald spot, and I was thinking, am I combing over a bot? Am I that guy?
Am I getting ready?
Am I that guy? So I said, I'm not that guy. So I just shaved my head.
Yeah, well, Doug shaved. My brother Doug, he shaves his head pretty good because he has like high, and then Mike is kind of. I don't know, Mike is kind of different always, and like his hair is good, but I don't think he's balding too much. He's starting to gray up a little bit.
Okay.
When I started graying up, I tend towards more my father's side. Where Mike is more towards mom, and dad was gray hair in his 30s. Even Jer is 34 now. He's
Well, my hair's no longer red; it's more brown, but I'll probably keep it. I mean, the beard's going white. I look like Santa Claus.
Oh, I'm gonna be able.
Yeah, but.